In today's episode, we continue our study of Romans by focusing on Romans chapter 3, verses 21 through 31. We'll look at salvation by focusing on three big words and one action to help us experience salvation. We will look at justification, redemption, propitiation. I'm thankful that you took time today to pull up a seat. I hope these few minutes together help you follow Jesus better by deepening your relationship with Him and helping you live intentionally for Him every day. Many scholars say that Romans chapter 3 verses 21 through 25 are the most important verses in the entire Bible. So let's listen to what Paul has to say. But now the righteousness of God has been manifested apart from the law. Although the law and the prophets bear witness to it, the righteousness of God through faith in Jesus Christ for all who believe. For there is no distinction, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, and are justified by His grace as a gift through the redemption that is in Christ Jesus, whom God put forward as a propitiation by His blood to be received by faith. This was to show God's righteousness, because in His divine forbearance He had passed over former sins. It was to show His righteousness at the present time, so that He might be just and the justifier of the one who has faith in Jesus. Don't forget that Paul's writing to the followers of Jesus in Rome. These followers they're struggling with how does the Jewish religious system fit into the new Christian worldview. Jewish Christians are trying to figure out what parts of their faith system can they hold on to and which ones should they let go of. Gentile converts, on the other hand, they're trying to see what they have to adopt from the Jewish faith system. And Paul's just trying to help them make sense of it all. Remember, he's already shown us that all of us need the grace of Jesus. The Jewish religious system is not enough to save. The Greek culture and scholarship is not enough for salvation. Only the person and work of Jesus is sufficient. Salvation is an act of God put in motion by the person and work of Jesus that an individual can experience through trusting in who Jesus is and what He did. To help his readers, Paul uses three big words to help us understand salvation: justification, redemption, and propitiation. Justification is Jesus justifies those who put their faith in Him. He puts believers in right standing with God. Another way to unpack this is that Jesus renders a favorable verdict for those who put their trust in Him. Our verdict before God and before Jesus was good. When we stood in front of God, we were guilty. But the verdict that Jesus proclaims over us, for those who trust in Him, He proclaims that they are not guilty. They are in right standing with God the Father. Second word, redemption. This has to do with being released from a condition. Think about a person being set free from slavery. This involves paying off a debt or purchasing one's new status. Jesus redeems us from the bondage of sin. The third big word is propitiation. This is not a word I use every day. Matter of fact, I don't think I've ever used this word outside the context of our salvation. So let's dig a little deeper into what the biblical sense of this word means. There seems to be two different perspectives of this big word. Maybe there's like two sides of the same coin. One side has to do with God's wrath being appeased. The second side has to do with Jesus being the instrument for human beings to regain God's goodwill. The sacrifice of Jesus turns away God's wrath and puts us back in good relationship with God. We've all tried to put ourselves back in a right relationship with God. We've tried it in so many different ways. We've tried religion, but that usually just makes us bitter or it makes us arrogant. We've tried to be good enough, but then we realize that there really is something inside of us that is not quite right, that something's wrong. Maybe we've tried doing good deeds and are always wondering if we've been good enough or done enough good stuff, done enough of the right stuff. As we've looked at these three big words, justification, redemption, and propitiation, we see that our salvation, our rescue from sin, and our restoration to right relationship with God has come through who Jesus is and what he did. So how do you and I experience salvation? The answer is simple: by putting our faith in who Jesus is and what he did. Paul sums up today's episode pretty good, really good, in chapters 3, verses 23 through 25. Verse 23 reminds us, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, and are justified by his grace as a gift through the redemption that is in Christ Jesus, whom God put forward as a propitiation by his blood to be received by faith." By faith in the person and work of Jesus Christ, we are brought into a right standing with God. We're released from the slavery of sin, and God's wrath has been appeased. My prayer is, my hope is, that you've put your faith in the person and work of Jesus Christ. If you haven't, I would love to help you do that. So if you have questions, reach out to me at 205-807-8645. If you have put your faith in Jesus, it's time for us to get to work and share the good news of Jesus with those who are trapped by their sin and separated from God and his goodness. If you're a follower of Jesus, I hope today you look for one person that you can tell about the good news. Thanks for taking the time to listen to this episode of Pull Up a Seat. If you've not yet subscribed, do that now so you can get content as soon as it comes out. Also, please help us get the word out by sharing on social media and inviting others to pull up a seat. Until next time, grow in your relationship with Jesus and find one way to live intentionally for him. See you next time when we pull up a seat.